I just started.
Hello, everyone. Today we will be discussing and learning more about Google Cloud SQL. But let's discuss money first. So credit cards have become a primary way consumers pay for purchases today. Do you know what principle they run on and uh, what is required? What is the primary requirement or need of a credit card? Anybody?
Don't need to carry money everywhere.
Yes. So what does it do? What does it do for us? It provides us money, I guess, whenever we need.
We already have some credit in our account.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. So exactly. It is plastic money, so you carry a card anywhere. You don't have to carry cash, and we already have some credit, which is really true. So you don't have to worry about how much cash in hand you have. But what is also very true is that it runs on OLTP. Does anybody know what OLTP means? Okay, I guess no. So OLTP means online transaction processing. So online transaction processing is the basic concept on which a credit card runs. So uh, you make frequent queries and you get fast responses whenever you need. So you can swipe your credit card like 4 times or 5 times, and you will immediately get a response to the query that you've made. So that principle is called OLTP. So I know we have already discussed this before, but uh, credit cards also need fine level access control, um, which is also needed at airports and stuff like that. So this is basically a lot of security that we are talking about. Now, Cloud SQL can be used to manage everything from OLTP to a WordPress blog um, to a global aggregation of wheat crops and rainfall. So its uses are, from something very small, very measly, very unimportant to something very, very important like the global aggregation of wheat crops and rainfall and obviously credit cards. So what is SQL? So Cloud SQL is a fully managed database service that helps you uh, in four things: in setting up, maintaining, managing, and administering r- relational databases on Google Cloud Platform. Now, what is a relational database? Does anybody know what relational database is?
Uh, a database where we store structured data like tables.
Yes, exactly. So that is exactly what relational database means. Relational database is an intuitive, straightforward way of representing data in tables, in the form of tables. So it is pretty straightforward, and you know what is there. Like, you don't have to figure out what kind of data is there. For example, what is unstructured? Unstructured data is, pictures. So there's an image 001. You wouldn't know really what it means until you open it, until you see what it is, right? But in a table, if the heading of a table says number of students, you know that down below there are going to be number of students. So that is what a relational database is. Now, now Cloud SQL is supportive of MySQL, PostgreSQL, and SQL Server. How does it help us? How does Cloud SQL help us? Why is it really needed? So Google Cloud SQL helps us in handing off mundane, time-consuming tasks like patches, updates, backups, and replicas, so we can focus on more important things while working. So do you know what a carbon paper is? When you put a carbon paper between two sheets, it makes replicas of whatever you're writing, right? Now we have technologically advanced. Now think of it as your assistant or as an accessory that is doing all that extra work for you. So yes, it is doing patches, it is doing updates, it's backing up your database, it is making replicas, so stuff like that. Cloud SQL integrates with BigQuery for analytics or connects as a backend to the App Engine or Compute Engine. Now, what are the benefits of Cloud SQL? It reduces maintenance costs and automates database provisioning, storage capacity management, replication, and backups. So obviously now, like I said, a carbon paper, right? You're making copies. Now you are spending on that carbon paper. Even if you're spending like $1, that is money. Now, similarly, when you talk about technology, you had to spend on, replicating data. So if something is lost, you have a copy of that. Now, this saves a lot of cost, a lot of manpower also, a lot of cost technology wise also, because you find all of these functions in one particular application. It offers quick setup also with storage capacity drivers and built-in migration tools. Now it has built-in migration tools. So suppose you have to transfer your data from one place to the other, it has tools. So it is just a click of a button. You don't have to really, write codes or get into the nitty-gritties of transferring and then something getting lost in the way of transferring data. Nothing of that sort is happening. You just click in and your data is migrated. Okay, which brings us to the next question, is how to set up Cloud SQL. It is actually really easy. Like I said, it is just a click. You select the region and zone where you want, where you would like the instance to be, and it gets created there. For those who want to know what an instance is, okay, let me ask first. Do you know what an instance is? Nobody knows what an instance is? Okay. An instance is allocation of memory for database structure. So let us go back and understand this once more. So to be able to set it up, to be able to set up Cloud SQL, what you do is you select the region and zone where you would like the instance to be, and it gets created. Next. So what are the Cloud SQL configuration options? Now, before we understand what are the configuration options, because there are a lot of configuration options, I would like to ask you what SSD and HDD is. Do you know the full forms, or do you want me to tell you them?
Is HDD is hard disk drives?
Yes. And SSD is solid state drive. These are the types of storage. So So there are a lot of configuration options. Machine type can be selected with the right storage type and storage capacity that is needed. Now, storage type can be chosen between SSD and HDD, which is solid state drive and hard disk drive, depending upon the latency. Now, latency is the total round trip time, that is taken. Latency queries per second. Now, QPS is queries per second and cost requirements. Lastly, you have to choose the storage capacity, which lands us to another question. Does higher storage capacity lead to better performance? This is not me saying, this is the Google Cloud documentation saying that if you have higher storage capacity, you get better performance. Would you know why?
Because it's having lot of space, and there is no rush of data whatever we are stored. There is like no overloading thing, so maybe it will perform well. Otherwise there might be a crash of the system or whatever you are using. So
Right.
that's what I feel.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think that the density is more distributed and that is why it performs better?
Density means like how can you tell me that? Like, I didn't get you that density
So,
point.
okay, let me put it another way. Uh, so does so does do you mean to say that higher capacity means bigger page size, and that is
Yeah.
how? Okay, okay, yeah, you're right then. Uh, so I mean, for the rest of you, I I can't speak in technological terms too much, but I'll give you a simple example because suppose there's a pool, okay, and you need to take out water from it. How will you be able to do it faster? With the help of a cup or with the help of a bucket? A bucket, right? So that is what is the principle here, that if there is higher storage capacity, there'll be better performance. Now, what are the value adds? So Cloud SQL offers automated backups and recovery options. Time slots and locations um, can be set up for backup. Okay, now let's talk about high availability. For production applications, it is recommended to enable high availability, which can be also known as HA. You'll find HA written at a lot of places. So I thought of mentioning it here. By enabling this feature, the database instance will automatically fail over to another zone in your selected region in case of an outage. Um, now, what happens is that if something doesn't work in zone A, it'll automatically start running in zone B. So your data is not lost. Cross-regional replicas can also be created to protect from regional failures. So you can basically, there's a master at one place, and then the database can be replicated at various different regions. So remember, when we open a cloud console, we enter our region. So this is what they're talking about here. In addition to storage increase, can also be enabled to add more storage when nearing capacity. So this is another feature, this is another value add that you can automatically increase and your storage if you are nearing the capacity, and this happens at an additional cost, obviously. Okay. So before we understand how to migrate MySQL database, I'd like to tell you about two terms that I did not know. So I read about them. Uh, so the first one is read replica. So read replica is a copy of the primary instance that reflects changes to the primary in almost real time. You can also use a read replica to do offload read request or analytical traffic from the primary, or perform a failover for disaster recovery. Just understand this and then you will know what I'm talking about when we read the next topic. And SQL dump. SQL dump contains a record of the table structure and database in the form of a list SQL statements. Now, what is it used for? It is used for backing up a database so that its contents can be restored in the event of a data loss. Now, let's understand how to migrate an existing MySQL database to Cloud SQL. So this happens in 4 steps. The first step is to provide data source details, things like IP address, port number, and replication credentials. The second step is to create Cloud SQL read replica with SQL dump file. The third step is synchronize read replica with source, and the fourth step is to promote read replica to primary instance with very low downtime. So it requires really less time to make a replica of the primary instance. So all this happens. So all this happens in these 4 steps, but it is really simple. It all starts with clicking a migrate button. Like I had said earlier, it's just one click and then all these steps can be followed. Now, a very important question. Is data safe in Cloud SQL? Before we answer that question, let me tell you what an SSL is. SSL is secured socket layer. So just like anything else in Google Cloud, the data in Cloud SQL is encrypted at rest and in transit to keep out data compliant. External connections can be encrypted using SSL or Cloud SQL Proxy, which is a tool to help you connect to your Cloud SQL instance from your local machines. So basically, so everything is encrypted, even if it is stored or it is being transferred and into a local machine, or it is there in the cloud. So it's yes. So yes, the answer is yes, it is safe. Now, how to use Cloud SQL? You can use Cloud SQL as a relational database for your applications that are hosted within Google Cloud, like App Engine, Cloud Run, Compute Engine, Kubernetes Engine, or Cloud Functions. You can also connect your Cloud SQL database with applications that are hosted outside of Google Cloud. For example, an in-house server of a private bank might want to move to Cloud SQL database. So yes, it has both external and internal applications. Now we come to a quick start for, now we come to a practical that will be helpful. Now, I could not set up my credit card because there was some issue, but I'll still tell you the steps. It's pretty simple. Somebody from my group has already done it. So you have to, for example, so for doing Cloud SQL for MySQL, you have to create an instance. These are the steps that you need to do to create an instance. the next thing that you do is you connect to your instance using MySQL client in Cloud Shell. And then you create a database and upload data. And then you get a result. What is very important after this is you clean up. So you delete everything because we have a $300 credit and you don't want to use that. So you have to delete it ASAP. So this is for MySQL. Similarly, you can do for SQL Server and PostgreSQL too. We will do it in the next class. What I'll do is, so I'll obviously set up everything in the next class, and then we can do practicals then and continue with the Cloud Spanner. Thank you.